My mother-in-law posed my newborn like a doll for secret photos. I found out when strangers commented on his birthmark. The first night home from the hospital taught me something the parenting books never warned about. Love can be noisy. My son, Theo, had a cry like a door hinge rusted shut, and every time it opened, my chest felt like it cracked with it. I was a brand new dad running on fumes, clutching swaddles like parachutes, trying to figure out how to land this thing without crashing. Mia, my wife, was stitched, sore, and stubborn enough to insist she didn't need help. Her mother, Linda, arrived less than 24 hours later with a Tupperware army and a smile that flashed like a camera. "Let me," she said, taking Theo before I even asked if Mia was okay with it. She held him up at arm's length like she was inspecting a rare book. "You see? He has my brother's ears." I forced a smile. "Maybe, let's not pass him around too much. He's still brand new." Linda's lips curved into something between a grin and a dare. "Jack, babies are meant to be adored. Don't start with rules." But we already had rules, written, literal ones. Mia and I made them at 37 weeks, parked outside a Target, both of us running on iced coffee and nerves. They were pinned to the fridge with a pineapple magnet. No visitors unless invited. No kissing the baby. No photos posted online without permission. Linda never commented on the list. She didn't have to. She just ignored it. That evening, she floated through the living room like a museum docent, straightening blankets, adjusting curtains, nudging picture frames until they looked presentable. I caught her phone pointed toward Theo more than once. The screen's reflection flickered in her glasses. "Please don't take pictures," Mia said gently. "We're not ready." "Just for me," Linda said, thumb already moving. "Grandma privilege." Mia let it go. She was sinking into that fragile, hazy space where the world shrinks to the warm weight on your chest. I made tea. I hovered. I didn't want to be the guy who policed a grandmother's happiness. But every time the phone appeared, something in my spine tightened. At 2:14 a.m. The neighborhood was dark and still. Theo finally slept in my arms, his tiny breaths puffing against my shirt. I must have dozed off, because when I opened my eyes, my arms were empty. The air felt colder. I followed the faint glow into the kitchen. Linda was crouched over Theo, who lay in a wicker basket lined with one of Mia's scarves. A ring light clipped to the cabinet bathed him in unnatural warmth. She was turning him, angling his head, repositioning his hands like a stylist. "What are you doing?" My voice came out sharper than I intended. Theo stirred, whimpered. Linda glanced up, annoyed at the interruption. "Soft light. Best for newborns." Mia's robes swished in the doorway. "Mom, stop." Linda straightened slowly. "You two are precious. Acting like I'm stealing state secrets." "You're stealing a moment," I said. "And maybe his privacy." Linda's eyes narrowed. "Privacy? He's a baby." "That's when it matters most," Mia murmured. She left soon after, muttering about overprotective new parents. We didn't argue. Exhaustion makes easy truces. The next morning, my phone buzzed. A text from my cousin. "Dude, congrats. Theo's birthmark is beautiful." My stomach dropped. We hadn't told anyone about that mark, a tiny crescent on his right hip, a detail we'd decided to keep for ourselves. The link he sent led to a Facebook group I'd never seen. Pastel logo, sun with a baby's face. At the top was a photo of Theo in the basket, scarf and all. The caption read, "Welcome, little star. Your grandma's arms have been waiting." Hundreds of strangers had reacted. Dozens had commented on his birthmark. Some called it a moon kiss. Others guessed its meaning. I stared until the words blurred. Then I realized it wasn't just the photo. It was the pose, the scarf, the ring light. And Linda had known exactly what she was doing. The picture didn't just steal a moment. It stole gravity. Everything in the room felt a few inches to the left of where it should be. Mia was silent, the kind of silence you hold in your mouth like a coin. I took the phone from her and scrolled, hungry and nauseous at once. More photos, different angles, the same scarf. A close-up where you could see the crescent on Theo's hip, framed like it was a brand. "Call her," Mia said. I did. Linda answered on the third ring, voice bright and breathless, like she'd jogged to pick up the phone. "Isn't he gorgeous?" I stayed up all night editing. Warm tones are forgiving on newborn skin. "Take them down," I said. "You're welcome first," she replied. "Those women have decades of experience." They've been sending me DMs about swaddling and take them down. I repeated, slower this time, so the words landed. She exhaled through her teeth. You two are so dramatic. It's a private group. It's 300 strangers and a mod named Sunshine Keeper, I said. That's not private. Mia leaned closer to the phone. Mom, you promised no posting. I promised I'd be helpful. Linda's tone softened, but not in a way that made me trust it. Sweetheart, the world wants to love him. He doesn't owe the world anything, Mia said. Neither do we. The pause was short and sharp. I'm driving, Linda said finally. I'll deal with it later. Now, I said. She hung up. Mia stared at the pineapple magnet with our rule sheet under it like it was a certificate of a country no one respected. She took it down and folded it in half, and then in half again. Maybe our rules were the problem, she said. They made everything into a dare. No, I said. People made everything into a dare. The rules just show you who they are. We reported the post, not that it felt like anything but throwing paper at a fire. We messaged the admins. I typed too fast and misspelled consent and had to backspace, furious at my own clumsy thumbs. While we waited, I called our pediatrician's office and left a message. Safe sleep questions, family boundary questions, a father sounding exactly like every caricature of a new dad who thinks he invented concern. The office called back within the hour. No tummy poses, the nurse said gently when I described the photo. Even for a second. I know the internet loves those setups, but it teaches the wrong things. And it's okay to say no. People think babies are community property. They aren't. I didn't know I needed a stranger's permission to protect my own son until I heard it out loud. When we hung up, I changed the Wi-Fi password and added a keypad lock to the side gate in my head, a task that would become real as soon as my hands could hold a drill again. Linda texted a screenshot at noon, removed for community guidelines. Then another. You shouldn't punish me for loving him. Then a paragraph-long manifesto about how modern parents are cruel, how pictures are the new announcements, how you can't steal what already belongs to all of us. Mia's face crumpled a little at that last line. All of us, she whispered, and I watched the words land like a weight on her chest. I pulled her in and felt her ribs heave against me. Theo slept between us, oblivious and holy. We decided to go quiet for 48 hours. Not because we were conceding, but because water drums louder just before it boils. We fed Theo, slept in skids, and moved like shadows through our own house. The ring light's ghost still haunted the kitchen, a pale reflection in the cabinet glass whenever the sun shifted. On day 2, my cousin sent another link. She posted again, his text read. Only this time it wasn't the Pastel Sun group. It was a new one with a different saccharine name, Sunrise Blessings, and the pictures weren't in our kitchen. I recognized the quilt, though, Linda's guest room, blue and overpraised, handmade by real artisans the way she was handmade into a martyr. She had him at her house, Mia said. No panic in her voice now, just something harder. I replayed yesterday like a security tape. Linda had stopped by with soup, while I was buying weather stripping and emotion light. Mia was in the shower. 10 minutes can hold a lifetime if you're willing to lie about it. She'd scooped him up, staged him, and slipped him back before the steam cleared. The new caption made bile rise in my throat. Some parents forget that love is meant to be shared. Thankfully, Nana remembers. Comments bloomed instantly. Women asking for our address to drop off blessing blankets. One user wrote, "Don't let them gatekeep joy." Another, "My daughter-in-law was like this too. I just did what needed doing and apologized later." I called Linda, and when she answered, her voice was sugar. "Hello, sunshine. You had him at your house." I was helping. Mia needed a shower. "You don't take a baby without asking," I said. "You don't post him for strangers. You don't pose him on his stomach. You don't tell me how to love my grandson," she snapped, dropping the sugar. "I raised a child without the internet diagnosing me." "It's not love if it ignores us," Mia said from beside me, voice steady and exact. I pinched the bridge of my nose. "Here's what happens now. You take down every post that includes our son. You don't share a single image without our explicit permission. You don't come into our house uninvited. And you do not, under any circumstance, remove him from our home. If you do, the next phone call you get will be from a police officer." "Careful," she said. The warning was quiet and intimate, like a hand on the back of your neck. "You make me the enemy, You'll regret it. She hung up. I looked at Mia. We're changing the locks, I said. Today. We did. I installed the porch camera, the side gate padlock, the contact sensor on the nursery window. It felt ridiculous and necessary at the same time, like building a moat around a crib. I texted Linda that the spare key she'd held on to in case of emergencies would no longer work. She replied with a single word, cruel. My father called that evening from 3 states away. He asked how we were sleeping and then, after a breath, asked the real question. Is Linda behaving? Define behaving, I said. He hummed. Grandparenthood makes people forget they weren't the parent. Some never remember. Did you ever fight Grandma about me? I asked. He laughed once, without humor. We didn't have phones to weaponize. But we had doors. We used them. After we hung up, I scrolled through the comments on Sunrise Blessings again, because I am a man who scratches scabs. One of the moderators, Sunshine Keeper herself, had replied to a thread asking for our address. No doxing, she wrote, followed by a winky face. Then, 3 lines down, DM me if you're local. We always coordinate drop-offs privately. I stared at that line until the screen dimmed. Someone knew where we lived, or would soon. My ring finger twitched against the phone case. At 10:11 p.m., our porch camera chimed for the first time. A figure in a pink raincoat stood under the overhang, holding a gift bag with tissue paper erupting like a fire. She looked at her phone, looked at our door, then back at her phone. She set the bag down and took a photo of it on our welcome mat. The same welcome mat Mia and I had argued about at HomeGoods, because the font on hello felt a little too cheerful, and walked away. We watched the playback twice, 3 times. The bag was stuffed with knit caps, a crocheted blanket, and a note written in loopy handwriting. Blessings on your little star. Auntie Dawn, from the group. Auntie. The word curdled. I picked up the bag with 2 fingers like it was biohazard and dropped it straight into the outside trash can. When I came back in, Mia was on the floor of Theo's room, one hand on the crib rail, whispering something I couldn't hear. I don't want the internet to know his name, she said when she stood. I don't even want them to know the shape of his head. We'll make them unknow it, I said, and it sounded ridiculous, but it felt right. At midnight, Linda texted again, a photo of a printed cease and desist template with a laughing emoji. Going to send this to your paranoia, she wrote. Then, be reasonable, and I won't have to go to court for grandparents' rights. Mia stared at the message as if it were a spider she couldn't decide whether to kill or trap and release. She wouldn't. She would threaten, I said, and she just did. I drafted an email to an attorney a friend had used for a custody scare. The subject line felt surreal, boundary guidance grandparent posting / minor privacy. I attached screenshots, links, and a short summary that made me sound calmer than I was. I hit send and felt the room tilt back onto its original axis, just a hair. At 2:03 a.m., the porch camera chimed again. Another gift bag, another stranger. This one didn't stop for a photo. She slipped something flat through the mail slot. A laminated prayer card with a baby angel and a handwritten note. We're praying God softens your hearts. Sisters of Sunrise. Mia went cold all at once. She made a church, she said, around our son. We stood in the hallway, listening to the soft rhythm of Theo's breath through the monitor, while beyond our door the night shifted and strangers mapped our welcome mat like a landmark. Tomorrow, I said, and this time there was no danger in postponing. Tomorrow had a lawyer's number in it. Tomorrow had a plan. But before tomorrow arrived, the camera pinged one more time. It was Linda, not looking at her phone, not carrying soup. She had both hands free. By morning the posts were gone, but the rot wasn't. My phone kept lighting up with gray bubble apologies from people I barely knew. Ladies from Linda's church, aunties who weren't related. Each message a little confession. She said you were exhausted and asked her to post for you. We thought you knew. Over coffee that went cold, I scrolled through screenshots our neighbor had grabbed before the takedowns. There was my daughter's face, milk-drunk and perfect, and there were the captions that made my skin crawl. My girl is finally here. God knew I needed her. Our angel's first bath at Nana's. SHH. Mom doesn't mind winking face. The timestamp was 2:13 a.m. Ren's first night home. Evan watched my jaw lock and didn't tell me to breathe. He just said, I'll drive, like he'd already accepted where this was going. Linda's porch smelled like lemon cleaner and fake lavender. She opened the door with the smile of a woman convinced grace was a brand new coat of paint. "Oh, good. You saw the photos," she said, stepping aside as if we were late to our own ambush. "People were blessed." "Take them down," I said, even though I'd already seen the content not available screen. The words were for me. "They're down," she chirped. "You could have just asked instead of sending, what was it, a formal notice?" "Honestly, Jack, you made it sound like I was trafficking children." Evan slid the folded paper from his back pocket, the one our lawyer friend had mocked up with phrases like parental consent and right to privacy, and set it on her entry table like a white flag that cut. "This isn't optional," he said. "No more photos, no more posts, no more surprise visits. You ask, we say yes or no. That's it." Linda's eyes flicked to the bassinet cover peeking from the car seat behind me, and I watched her soften, shape-shift, weaponized tenderness. "You're tired," she said. "That's all this is. When you sleep, you'll remember I raised Evan. He turned out fine." He did, I thought. And he was the one drawing a line now. Also, I added, and this was the part one hadn't told Evan because saying it out loud felt like opening a door we couldn't close. Why was there a picture of Wren in a tub I've never seen? We don't own a porcelain clawfoot. Linda blinked, calculating. The pause was short, but not invisible. "Oh, that," she said, waving a hand. "We gave her a quick rinse here yesterday afternoon." She spit up. It was a mess. My mouth fell open. "You took her from our house." "I didn't take her. I borrowed her," she said, like we were discussing a bunt pan. "You were napping, and your front door isn't exactly Fort Knox. Jack, I've watched 3 babies. You can barely change a diaper with your wrists still swollen." Evan made a sound I'd never heard from him, somewhere between a laugh and a choke. "You had a key?" he asked, and the question wasn't really a question because the answer was living in his posture. "It's the spare from when we were house hunting," she said. "And what if there was a fire? You two would thank me." Evan reached for the basket by the door and shook it until keys clinked like coins. "Which one is ours?" She didn't move, so he found it himself, the little brass tag stamped with our old realtor's logo. He slipped it into his pocket like a vow. Linda crossed her arms. "This is a lot of drama for a few photos." "It's not photos," I said. "It's choices. It's you choosing your thrill over our rules." "Rules?" She laughed. "You mean your boundaries." The word came out frosted, like I'd brought a therapy term to a knife fight. "You kids invent vocabulary for being ungrateful. In my day, family was a village. Villages ask before they enter your home," Evans said. "They don't unlock it." For a second, the mask cracked. The smile fell, and something older looked out, loneliness in a hard glare. "You're punishing me for not being your mother," she said to Evan, and then to me. "And you're punishing me for being one." "We're protecting our daughter," I said low. Linda lifted her chin. "You won't keep me from her. You'll see." We left before the rest of that sentence could grow teeth. Back home, we changed the lock, the code, the rhythm. We put a handwritten note on the inside of our front door that said, "Check the latch." The first nap I took after that felt like swallowing glass and calling it rest. It took less than a day for the next wave to hit. I was nursing Wren in the dim blur of late afternoon when my phone buzzed with a tag from a local boutique. "Congrats to our giveaway winner at Linda Bakes. Look at her sweet grandbaby modeling our hand-knit bonnet at Sunday's Sip and See." The photo froze my blood. Wren in the bonnet. Yes, and tucked behind her, a crowded living room I didn't recognize. Paper banner reading, "Welcome, little lamb." Strangers' hands reaching toward my daughter like petals. I clicked through the boutique stories to the reposted invite. "Sip and See for baby W. Sunday 2 to 5. Friends, church family welcome. Gifts not required." RSVP to a number I knew by heart. "Evan." My voice snapped him awake on the couch. He took one look and was on his feet. I called the number without breath to set up my anger, and Linda answered on the first ring, already cheerful. "Are you seeing the love? Isn't it wonderful? You used our child to win a giveaway?" I asked, because my brain couldn't climb out of any single scandal fast enough to reach the next. "Don't be dramatic. I'd already bought the bonnet," she said. "Besides, people wanted to meet her. Community is good for babies." "You posted our address?" Evan cut in, and I watched the last of the color leave his face as he scrolled to the RSVP comments. Someone asked about parking. "You gave porch instructions." "Church people," she said, stung. "We know them. We don't, I said. Then come, she said brightly, like she'd sprung a trap. If you show up, everyone will stop saying you're overwhelmed. There it was. The gossip we'd heard secondhand slid into the open like a blade being set on a table. We're not asking again, Evans said, steady in the way you get when you're done being polite. Delete it. Cancel it. And if anyone shows up, we call the police. You wouldn't, she whispered. Then, to me, the dart. Jack, you're really going to let him keep your daughter from her grandmother? I stared at the tiny fist curled under Wren's cheek, the blue vein at her temple pulsing like a lighthouse. No, I said. I'm going to keep you from behaving like a stranger. We hung up. We waited. For an hour, the post stayed up like a dare. When it finally disappeared, the boutique left a sugary apology and I wrote a message that didn't blink. Using a newborn's image without parental consent is a liability, not a promotion. They replied with a coupon code. I blocked them. By evening, our doorbell exploded. I checked the peephole and had to swallow a laugh that tasted like a sob. 2 women from Linda's Bible study stood on our porch in matching cardigans, cradling a diaper cake wrapped in cellophane. Is the little lamb home? One trilled to the camera. When no one answered, she set the diaper cake gently on the mat and slid a card under the door. When you're ready to accept help, we're here. We were ready to accept silence. We got neither. The next day, the pediatrician called. We have to change Wren's chart note, he said. Your mother-in-law phoned 3 times to ask about the vaccination schedule. She implied you might be delaying them. She what? I told her we don't discuss patient information with anyone but parents, he said, calm and clinical. But I wanted you to know she's trying to triangulate. Triangulate. Another therapy word with a rusted edge. We made a list that night. Locks changed, camera angles shifted, pediatrician flagged, daycare future plan coded, parent pickup only. We wrote a joint text to Linda, not a grenade but a map, and read it out loud until we could say it without shaking. We love you. We won't do photos or gatherings without consent. For now, please don't come by unannounced. We need space. We'll revisit in 2 weeks. Her reply arrived in a paragraph avalanche. I skimmed past scripture and guilt to the part where she said, I've created a private group where people can follow her milestones without bothering you. Only close friends. My stomach flipped. Group? I'll handle it, Evans said, and for the next hour I listened to him click and type and quietly, carefully, unravel the web. The group wasn't private. It was private in the way a screen door is a wall. 200 members. Quilting club ladies. A realtor from her cul-de-sac. The boutique owner. And in the pinned post, Wren's full name, birth date, birth weight, the hospital, a picture of our front porch with the number barely blurred like a shrug. Evan didn't shout. He saved everything. We were still deciding whether to go with a cease and desist letter or a scorched earth threat when the last twist of the night arrived in a text from an unknown number with a logo I recognized from the news. Hi, Jack. I'm a producer with Local 7. We're running a segment on grandparent rights next week and heard you might be open to discussing your experience. I stared at the message until the words unglued and slid off my screen. Linda, I said, and the way her name came out told us both what we already knew. My mother-in-law wasn't just sharing photos. She was building a narrative. And if we didn't write ours first, we were going to spend the rest of Wren's first year correcting a story someone else told about our home.